Alright, Halloween season's kicking off. Yeah, we did just get Candyman and all, but whatever, fucking James Wan! Let's see if he can conjure up some scares. Oh my god, that was fucking terrible. Malignant is brought to us by director James Wan and stars Annabelle Wallis, Ingrid Basu, and George Young. So this is the new horror flick from modern horror maestro James Wan. Wan has proven himself to be a very capable director and storyteller, and he has had some outright bangers throughout his career so far. I don't want to give too much away about the plot, but it is more or less about Annabelle Wallis's character Madison and how she starts to have these visions of murders that end up happening in real life. And these murders are all being carried out in very violent fashion by the extremely greasy, long black-haired character known as Gabriel. What follows is a twisty-turny story to where we find out what the connection actually is between Madison and Gabriel and why she is having these visions and who ultimately Gabriel really is. I was excited to see this movie for one reason and one reason only, because James Wan's name was attached to it. The trailer itself was interesting, I guess, but it didn't really give much away, and that's not a bad thing. I don't mind when a trailer is pretty vague and doesn't give the story away. At the same time, the trailer did come across as a bit generic. However, Wan's name being attached to it, especially in the director's chair, that did give me some faith. What didn't give me faith is the fact that the trailer dropped about a month before the movie came out, and prior to that, myself nor anyone else I knew of had ever heard anything about this fucking movie. This bitch just came out of fucking nowhere. And while there have been plenty of movies that I haven't heard of that came out of nowhere that ended up being fantastic, when it comes to a movie from a very well-known director like this, you typically hear something about it in advance. So yeah, that was a concern, but hey, we live in odd times. The decade of 2020 gave us all kinds of weird shit, so hey, maybe I just overlooked the fact that James Wan was working on a movie. Maybe this is gonna be the next great Conjuring-esque Saw type of movie. And maybe 50 monkeys will fly out of my butthole and each give me $1,000 too. This movie did not live up to my expectations. While I guess it is technically classified as a horror, there isn't really much that's scary here. We get a few jump scares here or there, but beyond that, there's some creepy imagery here or there, but nothing that I would really classify as anywhere near scary. But you know, that's okay. I didn't need the movie to be scary. I just need an interesting, compelling story with interesting characters. Unfortunately, we didn't really get that either. The vast majority of this movie is a bit of a slog. Stuff is happening on screen, but the vast majority of it is kind of dull and uninteresting. And also, the story is pretty fucking stupid. I'm not really gonna comment much on the beginning and middle of the movie. It's just dull, not a whole lot's going on, and until we get to the end of the movie, I just wasn't really that entertained, and I knew everything that was gonna happen way before it happened. So that's the bulk of the movie, but the end of the movie does redeem things just a bit, but not for the right reasons. What I mean is, the end of the movie actually is entertaining, but not because the story gets any better. In fact, the story gets a bit stupider at the end of the movie. But the visuals that we get, the spectacle on display that happens in the end is just kind of so over the fucking top and balls to the wall that you can't help but be a bit entertained by it. I fully acknowledge it's just fucking dumb as shit. There's stuff that's just left totally unexplained that you feel like really should be explained, and the things that are explained are just stupid. They don't make any sense. And also the way that they explain things in this movie is super contrived. There is literally a part in this movie where characters sit down and are given something that just explains everything in great detail. And not only just explains it, but answers every question that they have as they have the questions as soon as they have the question. It is just pure exposition for quite a few minutes. Now, I will say that the movie does actually show you a lot of these things so that you can see them and kind of somewhat make up your own mind, but then it shoots itself in its own fucking foot and turns right around and explains verbally everything that you just saw, just in case you're a fucking idiot and you couldn't tell from watching it. Now, at this point, I was pretty much ready to check out on the movie, but as I said, things right then do ramp up. Now, they ramp up into fucking Crazyville, but quite honestly, it was exciting and very well done, very well shot and made, so I was entertained in that part. It was fucking dumb as hell, and it was like we were in a totally different movie at that point, but really, by then, I was kind of like, whatever, I'll take anything just to kind of be entertained at this point. Also, while the movie does have one or two kind of violent scenes, I was actually wondering why it was rated R. Up until the last part. The last quarter of this movie, that is why it's rated R. There is a fucking shit ton of gore. It gets real fucking violent, real fucking quick. And maybe it's the crazy person inside of me, but I did enjoy this part of the movie. It's kind of like the Friday the 13th movies. They can be dumb as hell, but as long as they're real creative and fun in the kills, it's okay. You're having a good time. Unfortunately, even though this part of the movie was entertaining to watch, it didn't change the fact that you watched an hour and a half of real dull, uninteresting movie before it. And the fact that the story is still really fucking stupid up to that point, and the conclusion is just fucking mind-numbingly dumb. This just doesn't seem like a James Wan movie. It's well made, technically. I mean, the movie does look good. It's shot well. Overall, it's not like particularly interesting in the way that it's shot, but it's not dull either. The movie looks okay, sounds okay, all that stuff. It's the narrative and the performances, which we'll get there in a minute, but the narrative, it is just so fucking stupid. I know I keep saying that, and I'm not really explaining what's stupid about it, but that is because if you want to watch this movie, I don't want to ruin it for you. Now, about those performances, they are wildly uneven. And that's not one or two people, it's pretty much everybody here. Like, one moment, you see the performances and you're like, that's fine, there's nothing bad about it. And then the next scene, it's like really hokey and off. It's just bad. The movie's performances as a whole are on a roller coaster of quality all the way to the fucking end. Annabelle Wallis, for the most part in the lead, is okay. I mean, her character probably bounces up and down in the quality department the least, but I can't really say it was like a phenomenal performance or anything. Her character is kind of one note. She just sits there and she's either scared shitless half the time or kind of dull. She is more consistent than everybody else, I'll give her that much. Guys, Malignant was just a disappointment pretty much all around for me. This just didn't seem like a James Wan film. It didn't have that same quality that I've come to expect from a film that has his name attached to the director's seat. The movie looks good, and the final quarter of it, even though it is still fucking stupid as hell, is entertaining to watch. But everything that came before that is just so dull, poorly acted, and dumb. It was just disappointing overall, and while yeah, it does get entertaining, so I can't absolutely say it's a total dumpster fire, I can tell you that if you're gonna check this one out, don't run out and see it, don't spend any money on it, and at best, check it out on USA Up All Night.
It's not worth it.
Hi, I'm Gilbert Godfrey.
Hi, it's Ron on USA.
It's so big.
It's just not worth it.
I almost rated this movie as worth checking out on streaming, but when I sat here and really thought about it, the vast majority of the movie is just so dull and so fucking stupid, I just could not bring myself to recommend you guys spending the time on streaming to watch this thing. It might be worth turning it on and fast forwarding to the last 20 minutes and just seeing that spectacle go down, but don't pay attention to the story because it's fucking stupid. So if you don't mind a really dumbass, super contrived story that does talk down to you at times, though it does have a kinda sorta neat visual ending, then check out Malignant one night, and I mean, you might kinda be entertained, at least for the last part. So there it is, guys, my review of Malignant. If you enjoyed and want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and help my little channel grow. If you want to help out the channel, check out my Patreon in the description below and become a jarhead and get some of the awesome benefits that go along with that, like these guys. And possibly join my top tier and become a bad motherfucker like my man Greg. If you liked what I had to say, give me a like. If not, let me know in the comments below why. And as always, stay sexy, Seattle. There's something I want to say real quick. Amongst the myriad of stupid shit that happens in this movie, the end of the movie, not what happens that I had as much of a problem with. It's what would happen after the credits. The movie, to a degree, with at least certain characters, puts on this show that, oh, okay, you know, everything's okay now and these people are gonna be happy now. Happily ever after, all that shit. But given some of the things that transpired, there's a character in particular that would be arrested and thrown in fucking jail in a heartbeat. Not just jail, would go to fucking prison and then absolutely would be on death row. The amount of bodies that are dropped as a result of something this individual does would not be overlooked. There is no fucking world where this individual gets away with this just totally scot-free. The fact that the movie somewhat implies that everything's okay moving forward is just one more of the fucking stupid as fuck things that happen in this goddamn movie. I swear I feel dumber after watching this movie. And you know what? I don't have a lot of my brain cells left, so I don't need to feel any fucking stupider.